All right. Welcome back to the podcast. I am thrilled to have a guest on today. Her name is Silvia Subirana. She's a clinical psychologist and head of content development at Unconscious Moderation. That's an app that helps users transform their relationship with alcohol and find greater meaning and fulfillment. By combining her master's in clinical psychology with the app's tools like hypnotherapy, journaling, and more, Sylvia takes a holistic approach focusing on the powerful connection between mind and body to inspire lasting personal growth and intentional living. And I am thrilled you are here, Sylvia. So, welcome to the podcast all the way from Spain.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here too.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you have joined us today from across the pond. And I want to ask you because this is a new app, I believe, that
Mhm.
relatively new app that has come out. It's called Unconscious Moderation. And I just want to understand what inspired you to become involved with the app and then how it works. So that's two questions, two big questions. So, first of all, how did you become involved with this app?
So basically, obviously, I'm a clinical psychologist, so I've been studying mind for several years now, and I've always been very interested in understanding what's going on in people's minds and how people react very differently to the same thing or same situation. But later in life, when I finished my degree, I started having loads of gut issues, and obviously I had to cut alcohol out of my life. It was the first thing that the doctor said. Okay, you have to stop drinking. It's not like I drank a lot before, but still, I used to drink alcohol. I don't know, maybe in a weekend, like on a Saturday, or once a week or twice a week. Not a lot, but still it was present in my life. And with the gut issues, it was the first thing that I had to stop doing. And I had to stop so many other things like gluten, sugar, and all these things. But then once my gut issues got solved and I got healthy again, I started reintroducing all things that I took out of my diet. But when it was the time to reintroduce alcohol, it just didn't feel good. I felt like it was not the right thing for me to do. I felt my body rejecting it. So I just decided to stop drinking. And that was over 6 years ago now. And it's been a journey. It's been a very, very interesting journey that I am very grateful for because I've learned so much about myself, about others, about society in general. And when I found this project, the unconscious moderation, when it was still an idea, I found it and I was like, this is perfect because literally I can combine my knowledge in mental health with my knowledge in navigating life without alcohol because I've pretty much haven't drunk during all my 20s, like big chunk of my 20s, which is a crucial moment in life where loads of people drink. Right. So I've actually learned so much. And when I found this project, I was like, I really need to be a part of it. And when I found it, the team was very, very small because they were just getting started. And when they saw my background, they were like, yes, of course, we need, like, you're the right person to join the team. So that's why I became involved. And I've been very interested in it since. And I still learn so much about everything like alcohol consumption and mental health today.
Wow. And I think it's fantastic that you did this in your 20s. I know it helped resolve your gut issues, and that is the trigger, that is the thing that caused you to stop drinking alcohol. But I would imagine that stopping in your 20s, especially with such an alcohol culture at that point in life, must have been really challenging for you.
It was tricky. It was really tricky because obviously everyone assumed that something was wrong. And at first, I had the excuse of, yes, I've got gut issues. And then everyone just says, okay, yeah, don't worry. And then they don't question it. But when you actually do it because it's a choice, then it's very different. People are actually questioning your choices, right? Like your decisions. Why are you being the weird one, right? And it was it was for me, it was like a game to navigate all this because I was very sure and very secure of my decision. I knew that it was the right thing for me and I didn't want to cave into peer pressure, which I had done years before, right? So I was very, very secure in my position, and that's why I always explained it, and I never had any problems talking about it. But then I also realized that like 95% of the people don't mind. Like they don't mind that you're not drinking. They're gonna insist maybe a little bit, come on, you can have one. And if you say just no, and you're very, very like very sure about your answer and you're not gonna cave in, then people just leave you alone. And I think that's one of the massive one of the most one of the biggest worries that a lot of people have. What are the rest, or what are my friends, what are my family, what are the people that I'm around with gonna say, right, when I stop drinking? And I realized after all these years that it's not that big a deal. And if people ask, the conversation lasts 30 seconds. It doesn't last more than that.
Wow. Wow. Okay, we're going to get more into that, especially as it relates to women in midlife, because I think it's quite similar. But how does I want to understand how the app works, how it might be
Mhm.
different than other apps, because there are other apps out there to help stop drinking. So, how does this app help us specifically?
So, yes, there are many, many tools out there, many apps that can help you uh, either quit or reduce drinking. The unconscious moderation app, can help both with quitting and reducing drinking. We've seen that more people are actually looking to moderate to reduce drinking with our program. But yeah, we still help people completely quit alcohol and get it out of their system and out of their lives. But basically, what is very, very interesting about this app is that we approach it with um, a very holistic approach, right? Like we very holistic way of seeing the body and the person, because we take into consideration the unconscious mind. We also take into consideration the conscious mind, and we also involve or get the body involved. So it's not only the mind, but it's also the body. So it's a whole, right? And we've seen that when we approach a problem, quote unquote, I don't, there's many, many different ways or many different things that can be targeted with this, right? But when we target something through different approaches in different ways, the chances of success are way, way higher, because what might work for me might not work for you. So maybe if you combine 2 out of 3 that work for me, but then other 2 out of 3 that work for you, then the program still works for both of us, but it has worked in different ways, right? So we've seen that combining all these things is also very powerful and gets results faster. And the way that we work with the unconscious mind is through hypnotherapy, which scares a lot of people because lots of people don't really understand what it is. And movies have done loads of harm in that aspect, because everyone thinks that if you're being hypnotized, then you're going to completely lose it and you're not going to be aware of anything that's going on, right? And that's not it. So the way that hypnotherapy works is basically you go into a deep state of relaxation where all the worries, all that conscious noise, all those problems that you're always thinking about, just dial down the intensity and you can be more relaxed and more in touch with your inner self. That is very, very similar or pretty much the same as the start of any sort of meditation or breath work or stuff like that, that a lot of people have actually done. So it's quite familiar when they start doing hypnotherapy. The only difference is that when you're in that deep state of relaxation in hypnotherapy, you start listening to different suggestions. So little by little, your mind starts understanding that there are more options out there. So, for example, when we take alcohol, right? Like the classic example is I'm stressed, then I'm going to have a glass of wine.
Mm.
So your mind has has created that bridge, right? And it's automatic. You're stressed and then you need the wine and you crave that wine because your body has understood that it's the only coping mechanism for you. It's the only way to deal with that stress. So what hypnotherapy does is broaden the mind so you can actually see more options and you can realize that, yeah, okay, you can deal not in a very healthy way, but you can deal with that stress with wine, but you can also deal with it going out for a walk, or calling a friend, or baking a cake, or whatever you like doing, or spending time with your kids or with your pets, or whatever you enjoy doing during that time. You have plenty of options to actually deal with that stress and feel more connected with your surroundings, with the present, and with your loved ones, right? So I think it's a very powerful tool, so people's minds can actually start creating that change from within, and they can see other things, and the mind is more open to considering other options. And then combining that hypnotherapy with the conscious work that we do with journaling and reading, um, basically people understand a bit better what's going on in their minds, and the cycles that they get involved in. Because there's many, I have heard it so many times in therapy where people say, I am trying to work on this, but I always go back to square one, and I feel like I keep repeating the same pattern in my life, right? So when we're not aware of that pattern, then we cannot target it and actually change it. So with the journaling, we our goal is that people understand what is their pattern, why are they always going back to that glass of wine or that beer or whatever they like drinking, and why they're doing this, like drinking, instead of dealing it differently, right? So we combine this opening the mind with the unconscious work, with the conscious work of actually understanding why you're doing this, and the why behind everything, right? And then when I said before that we involve the body as well, is because we do 5-minute videos of stretching, especially in the hips. We stretch a lot the hips because hips support loads of stress and loads of tension. So basically, we just do a bit of stretches to release this tension, so people can actually embrace everything that they've worked with a conscious and unconscious mind in a more open way as well, because they are just leaving all those tensions from the day behind. So yeah, this takes, obviously, it really depends on how long the person wants to work for and how long they actually want to sit down with themselves. But this can be done in around 30 minutes a day. So I believe and it can be broken down. So you can do 15 minutes of hypnotherapy and then 15 minutes of the conscious work as well. So you have the possibility to adapt it to your own schedule. So, and everyone has 15 minutes here and there, right? So if you want to dedicate it an hour, you also, like, you can, there's many exercises in the app that you can also add to your practice and to your journey. But again, there's so many people that actually say that they don't have the time. So that's why we wanted to make it very approachable for people, very easy for people to just start using it and started seeing results in only 30 minutes a day, that can also be broken down. So it's not like they're just blocking those 30 minutes and they cannot be adapted to like the schedule. They can actually be done whenever in the day. And some people prefer doing it in the morning or in the evening. It really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that people do it frequently, like every single day, or as much as they can during those 30
Mm-hmm.
days. 30 minutes a day during at least 30 days. The program is 90 days long, but we encourage people to at least do 30 days because some people don't want to reach to 90 days. However, the longer you go for it, the more benefits and the more results that you see, and the longer those results will have an impact on you, and you can actually adapt them as part of your life and as new habit, right?
Okay. Okay. So that's a lot of information, but
Yes,
really, really
sorry.
good information. No, this is great because you really explain the app. What I love about what you said is the different elements of it, that there is the unconscious element. So the hypnotherapy helps to get into the unconscious mind and suggest there are other options here. And I love that you do some physical work. Like I am a yoga teacher, so I'm very well aware that a lot of tension, a lot of stress is stored in the hips. And I just love that that is an important part of this process. So much of it is, really, really good stuff. And I love that it's so holistic. That is a really important thing that it can fit into your day very easily and that you can split it up and make it fit in a way that makes sense to you. Now, is there a difference between how you're going to approach somebody who wants to stop altogether versus somebody who just wants to moderate?
So that's a very good question because the program changes a little bit depending on your choice. Basically, the first 30 days are the same for everyone. So the choice is you're not going to drink for 30 days, or at least we're going to try to not drink for 30 days. So your body can have a reset. Even for the people that want to moderate, it's very, very healthy for the body to have that reset from time to time, not only from alcohol, but also from sugar and from other things that we do quite frequently. So that's why Sober October or Dry January are quite big, because the body really resets and has loads of benefits to have that break from time to time. So that's why we encourage this break as well, so people can actually understand a bit better what were the habits and why, like what are the reasons why they're drinking and the moments where they were triggered to drink, they had the urge to drink, right? So basically, yeah, they don't drink for 30 days, and then on day 30 they have to decide if they want to continue not drinking for the rest of the day, so for whole 90 days of not drinking, or if they want to learn how to moderate. And that's when the app differs a little bit. If people choose to not drink, then it looks exactly the same as the first month. It just has different content and different activities, but it's the same format. But then if people choose to moderate, there is something added on top of that. That it's basically a tracker, an emotions tracker. So basically, when you have the urge to drink, we encourage people to like get the app and just write down why they had that feeling, what emotions were behind this urge, right? Were they stressed? Were they sad? Were they annoyed at something? Were they feeling lonely? Were they surrounded by people and they just wanted to have a drink because of peer pressure or because they actually wanted one, right? So we make it very, we like, our idea is that we make it very easy for people to understand how many times they drink a day, a week, a month, or whatever, and also why. So then they can actually say, okay, during this month, the most common reason why I've drunk is because I'm stressed, or it's because I'm sad because I've just lost something or someone very important in my life, or it's out of peer pressure because I just cannot say no when I'm surrounded by my friends or by my family. So when people understand how many times they drink a week, a day, or a month, and the reason why, they can actually make changes. Because sometimes we don't realize how many times we do something until we write it down. And then when we keep count, we're like, oh God, I'm doing it so many more times than I actually thought I was, right? So that is a great addition. I everyone says that it's a great addition because they realize so many things that they thought that they were more under control, and they thought, oh God, I realized that there's so many other things that make me want to drink that I didn't even know. So it's
Yes.
that's the bit like the biggest difference between those two parts, if they want to quit or moderate.
Okay. Okay. I really like that because I think we do tend to underestimate how much we're drinking. Like that's one thing, or eating, or whatever it is, that activity that we go to because of the feelings that we're having. We tend to underestimate how often we do it, I think. So keeping track of it is so key because we have to be honest with ourselves, and when we see it on paper or on the app, you can tell, like, okay, this is where I am and this is why, more importantly, why I'm doing it, understanding yourself. So That is really powerful. And so, if we're on the question of why, and when I think about, because this podcast is for women in midlife, what are some of the common, because from what I understand, there that is a big demographic
Hmm.
for drinkers in terms of people who drink. I've read that the this population, women in midlife, is the fastest growing demographic when it comes to alcohol consumption. So that's very worrisome because I know it's not good for us. But I also understand there's some reasons why we do it. So when you think of that demographic, what are some common reasons why you see women drinking at this point in life?
The biggest one by far is stress
Mm,
and pressure. Women, I think society puts so much pressure on us. It always has, really. But when we used to take care, like 100 years ago, when we used to take care of the household, the pressure was that the house had to be clean, and then we had to do everything for the husband, for the family, and all this, the classical thing. But then I think, for example, my grandma used to do that, and she never worked one day in her life. So everything was for the family, for the house, for the husband. She had loads of stress regarding that, but then she didn't have to work 8 hours a day on top of that.
mhm.
So I feel like now we've become very, like, obviously very active in working and everything in the world. However, loads of responsibility still relies on us, still lies on us, and we have to take care of it. And it's true that like more and more husbands or partners are taking care of it, but it's the mental load that's the massive difference. And that's something that I hear a lot in therapy. Loads of women say, yes, my husband does so many things, but he is always asking me, what do you need? What do I have to do? What is, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? And it's always the woman that needs to decide. Generally speaking, of course, there's many different um variants, right, to this, but generally speaking, the majority of situations that I hear from people in therapy, and then I see in my surroundings as well, is from people that are in this situation where the woman just needs to decide everything and remembers everything related to the kids, the doctors, the diet, special diets or special requirements that every kid has, everything related to school, and the husband just follows around and does, yeah, they're doing the tasks, but they're not thinking about them. And that mental load is what creates loads of pressure, loads of stress in women. And sometimes we just don't have the mechanisms, because nobody has told us that drinking alcohol is bad or it's not a healthy way to actually cope with these emotions. We know that alcohol is not good for our bodies, but we don't actually know the effects of that, and we don't know how it interacts with our bodies. And yes, alcohol affects everyone, it interacts with everyone's hormones and everyone's bodies, but I think, oh, it's proved that for women it interacts way more, because our hormones are just more revolutionary than men's, right? Like, men's are just more stable, but we have so many things going on. If either it can be during the cycle, if we still have like our periods, or during menopause, because it's again a bomb of changes, and hormones are just everywhere, right? So when you add alcohol to the picture, it just makes it way more difficult for women to actually have a healthy life, because yes, in the moment they're dealing with that stress and with that pressure with a glass of wine, and they're numbing that, because yes, it's not dealing with it, it's just numbing it. But then that doesn't go away. That pressure, that stress is still there. You haven't done anything to actually change that. That source of stress will be there tomorrow, will be there the day after, and every single day of your life if you don't actually target that and change that. So if we just keep reaching that for that glass of wine and just drinking and numbing that stress for the day, um, well, firstly, we're not dealing with it. And secondly, that keeps interfering with all of our hormones. So eventually, our bodies will be more tired, because, again, all this um, revolution of hormones that is affected by alcohol, affects sleep, affects metabolism. So people gain weight and they don't know why. And they're just like, I just have very stubborn fat and I cannot lose weight. That is a very common thing that I hear as well. It affects in so many ways. It can affect the liver, of course, like it has a massive impact on the liver, in the heart as well, especially in women during menopause, where obviously there's so many changes that the heart is it gets a bit resented because of that. If you add alcohol into the picture, it gets way worse. So it has so many negative effects that, yes, we don't feel them because when you drink one day, you don't see how poorly it affects you. If you only have one glass of wine or two, maybe you don't have a hangover the next day. So you don't see that affecting your body. But then after a while, your body is just way more tired and it's accumulative. It's just in the
Mhm.
long run, you feel those effects. That's why when I was talking about the 30-day breaks, like dry January or the one that we encourage, for example, they're very, very beneficial because people that have been in this loop of just drinking nearly every day, they don't know how much alcohol is affecting them. On those 30 days, they can see how alcohol was affecting them and they can see, oh wow, I have so much energy now, whereas last month I didn't, or I sleep so much better now after 30 days of not drinking. And those are things that you don't realize until you actually stop doing something that you're doing every day, like drinking alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, so many good, really good points in there. The one that I really hit me was the mental load that women carry that men don't. We might be physically doing similar tasks, but that is absolutely it, is that we are carrying the load of it. What to do, exactly all the details of things are we're holding in our brains. All the appointments, all the diets, all the things the kids need to get done. It's just it's so true. And then the partner just says, "How can I help?" Well, they're helping physically, but they're not carrying that. They don't feel the need yet. And that's maybe something that's going to change too, but that it hasn't changed yet. And that just is exhausting for women. So I can see that taking something to numb it, be it a glass of wine, which tends to be the thing of choice because I think it's socially acceptable. More than that, I think it's socially encouraged.
Hmm.
Like when I see the memes, all the memes that come through my social media with women and wine, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like it's just like a social, like, yeah, let's just have a glass of wine and we can all feel better. That's just the way it looks. But the effects, like you just mentioned, on our bodies, and we're changing all the time. Like you said, we're our cycles go up and down. Men's are stable. Monthly, we know our cycles, our hormones are up and down. Everything adjusts, not the female hormones. They're not working on their own. It affects all the other hormones. So you add alcohol into the mix, it's just a mess. And so, yeah, I can totally see that. So that was really, really helpful. And so then what do we do? I think as women too, a lot of times we don't like to say no, we don't like to make people feel bad. We want to, make people happy. We're people pleasers. A lot of us happen to be people pleasers. How can we say no when we want to? I think that is my big question. And is that part of your app? Are there tools and ways of showing us how we can do this?
The app is based a lot in self-knowledge, and I think that is a key thing
Mhm.
to have in mind to actually learn how to say no. Because the reason why you might be feeling a bit unsure of saying no or putting like setting boundaries and all these things might be completely different for every person, right? So when you know why you are doing it, and you understand your pattern and the reason behind all this, then you can actually start doing some changes. Because if not, you're just completely blinded. You're like, I want to change something, but I don't really know how and where to start because you don't know what is making you just say yes all the time and pleasing these people, right? So that's a way that the app can help. I always encourage people to just sit down and spend some time with themselves, even if it's 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be very, very deep. It can be 5 minutes in the car before entering, like before getting into your house, and just sitting. And if you want, you can shut your eyes and just think, how am I feeling today? Why am I feeling this? How can I deal with it? And being more aware of our emotions and the reason behind those emotions is something key, as I was saying, is something key to then create that change. And I think that we just live in autopilot, and it's something very, very simple what I just said, but we don't do it. We just live our lives, and every single day we just do tasks. It's like our day is just a checklist that we just have to tick, 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 tick. And then by the end of the day, of course, we are exhausted. So we don't want to think about our emotions and the way that we're feeling. But then if we live like that, then of course we have problems. We have issues with our partners, with our friends, with our families, because we just explode without us knowing why. So I encourage everyone to just sit down. If you can every day, that would be amazing. If not, every 2 days or at least a couple times a week, sit down and do like a quick check of how you're feeling and what you need. Like, what do you actually need? What does your body need? Maybe you just need a self-care day, or maybe you just need a hug, or maybe you just need for someone to tell you how well you're doing it, right? So once we know all these things, then we can ask for them. And I know that sometimes it's quite difficult to then ask for those things. But as I was saying at the very beginning, we are our worst enemies, and we think that things have consequences that are way worse too when they actually are. When I was talking about when people approach me, why are you not drinking? That is a massive fear that loads of people have. And then in the end, I always tell them it's maximum a 30-second conversation, and then everyone just moves on, because you realize that you're not the center of their lives. They are the center of their own lives. So basically that can be that you can apply that to everything in your life. And that is that is crucial to understand how you're doing and why you're doing it, so then you can actually start switching a little bit those things that are actually being a problem for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, I know that is key. I know that bringing consciousness, bringing awareness, doing that every day, because like you said, it's so true. We go through this checklist of things and we think that is living, but we're not actually making any conscious choices when we're doing that. We're just doing. We're just on some sort of autopilot. We're just being very robotic about it. But what we really need to do is use this amazing conscious mind, which we are all blessed with as human beings, an amazing thing that no other animals really have, I don't think. So we need to use it, and we need to use it to have some conscious thoughts and really create the life that we want. And it's so simple, like you said. I think there were three questions. You said, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And now how can I do something about it? Or what can I do about this? Just so simple, like ask yourself those three questions every so often and write it down just in this moment. What am I feeling? Like you said, when you arrive and you're from work, maybe you drive into the driveway, you stop, you have like a minute, 2 minutes, just think about those things and consciously then go into the next phase of your day. I think that is so important. And yeah, part of that what might show up there is the people pleasing, is noticing that I'm actually trying to please people here. That's why I'm doing this. And I don't want to upset somebody. I don't want to make them feel bad by saying no. We do that. So it's just understanding that behavior, and that it's okay to say no, and actually it's healthier for you and it's healthier for them too, that they hear it. I think that's so important, especially when it's our children, especially when we just have to learn to say no sometimes. It's the healthier choice a lot of the time. So before we wrap up, I just want to know what if there's something you would say to a woman who is considering who might not realize or might be on the fence about, is alcohol a problem for me? What should they do? What do you think?
So, related to what I was saying before, that sometimes we're not conscious of how how much we do something. If someone is on the fence and thinking this might be a problem, is it really a problem for me? I always encourage people to just make it conscious, bring about awareness, right? And you can have that 30-day break and see how you feel. See if you feel better. See if those like that alcohol that you were drinking is was actually having effects on you or not. And you can either do it with the app or without. I always encourage people to do it with the app because you get more like such a big change out of everything and loads of knowledge out of it. But if people are a bit unsure and they are not ready to, or they're not open to start using an app yet, I that's my advice, to just be more aware of your habits and when, like, how many times you do them, when you do them, and um if you want to, then be like, take a break and see how you feel.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And the app is a great support for
Hmm.
that. So, which is great. I think the app, when I looked into it, it's you can do it for free for 7 days. You can check it out,
Yes.
right? And then after that, it's $30 a month. 30 to
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Okay. So, which is great, because like you said, do it for 30 days. Do that dry 30, I think you're calling it, the dry
Hmm.
30, where you're
Yeah.
try it for 30 days. And then after that, then you can make your decision on how you want to proceed, whether you're going to continue it dry or you're going to moderate. But yeah, try that out. I think an app is this app in particular, because I like what I like about it is, like I said, is very holistic. You said that, and so it's not just hypnotherapy, there's a lot of other pieces to it that can help you, and you can see what are those pieces that are most helpful to you when you're doing this. So I really appreciate that. There's one more question that I always ask my guests, and I know you're younger than most of my guests, but I'm going to ask you anyways because you are the age you are and you've aged as well. So,
Mhm.
what's the best part of getting older so far for you, Sylvia?
Yeah, I obviously I'm not like I'm still in my late 20s, nearly 30, but still like quite young. But something that I've come to realize is that every part or every year of my life has something good and something bad. And I'm always trying to hold on to the good things and remember the good things. And I remember when I was 16, I turned 16 and I cried my eyes out. I was like, I don't want to grow up. I don't want to ever leave high school. And now I look back and I was like, I'm so much happier now than I was back then, that I would never go back to being 16 now. So I feel like it's, but the older you get, the wiser you get, and the more knowledge you have about yourself, and the better you can actually approach life and live life in a way that suits you better. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes. I know that I'm going to make so many mistakes, but that is just part of the journey, right? And whereas when I was a teenager, I was terrified of growing up. Now I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, and like I don't want it to go very fast, but I'm also like want to enjoy it and enjoy what every stage of my future life will give me, because I think that every step that I've already lived has given me so much and I've learned so much as well. And I just think it's part of the journey.
That is such a wise thing to say in your late 20s. I wish I was saying that in my late 20s. I don't think I was quite as wise as you are. But
Thank you.
that is amazing. I love that, thinking about, what are even like you said, every year, what's one good thing? What's one bad thing? What are the things I want to continue doing? That is such a wise way to see it. And that, yes, we will make mistakes and you will make mistakes and I will continue to make mistakes. But if we can learn from them and know that they're just part of the journey, that's the whole thing, right? So
Mhm.
I do really, really appreciate that insight. And so for my audience, if they want to use this app or even get in touch with you, what are some of the ways they can do this?
So the app is in both App Store and Google Play. They can just search unconscious moderation and they will find it. If they want to know a bit more about the program and the people who's behind it, they can always check the website where they also can send us an email if they have any further questions. And we're a small team, so we always talk about it and help each other out. So that is the best way to reach us. The website is um.app, so um.app. And then we also have Instagram and app, and they will be able to find us. And we post some memes and some other things, like some of the new things that we have in there. And that is also a good way to reach us if some people want to message us there.
Fantastic. And I will include all the links in the show notes. So anybody who wants to use this app or wants to get in touch or find out more or follow them on Instagram, you can do that. And I'll include those links. So Sylvia, I really, really appreciate you being here today talking about this. I think it's such an important topic. It's so relevant right now, well, especially to me as a woman in midlife and my clients. So I really, really appreciate the work that you are doing, and I know it's going to help so many people. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it very much.